Hey, welcome back to Mike's Trains. In this video, I thought I would touch on a little bit about mirrors. I know if you've watched the videos before this one, I talked about putting mirrors on my layout to give depth to everything. And I thought I'd give you a quick look at the difference in the mirrors. Because when I started doing this, I really didn't know what was what. A mirror was a mirror. So let's take a look at what you need and what they're for. This right here is a standard mirror. This is what you buy at Home Depot. It's an 1/8 inch thick. Okay, it has, this is the reflective backing that you're actually looking at through the glass. I bought a box of these, let's see how many, 12 by 12 squares. There's probably, I don't know how many were in the box, maybe 6 or 8 of them in a box. Cost me like 10 bucks. And these are great mirrors to use for different things, okay? But the drawback with these depends on where you're going to use them. These mirrors right here, let me see if I can set this up a little bit. I need this to stand. Okay, so the idea with these mirrors, so we have this one. This is your standard mirror. It's an 1/8 inch thick. Now, if you're putting things in front of it, like this, to create a field of depth, it works awesome. There's nothing better, and they're cheap. Now it looks like my cutting table goes twice as deep as what it is, which is great. The problem comes in when you want to put something such as a piece of track here up to the mirror. Now when you're running it this way, I have another train line running by. As soon as you put it this way is where the problem comes in. Now if I take this, now this is a piece of glass as well, so there's no gap at the bottom, there's no warping. So what I'm going to end up with, I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me see if I can zoom in. So the problem comes in when you're looking at the mirror when you run a piece of track up to it. So if you're looking in here, you can see a break in the track. Now granted, it's not huge, but it does show. You see the gap between the end of the rail here and where the rail starts in the mirror. And that gap, you know, you guessed it, is 1/8 of an inch. It's the thickness of the glass. Okay, now you can get thinner mirror, we'll cut that back some, but then again, you can't just run down to the store and buy that, down to the, you know, your local home store. But you know, running it this way, things buy it or whatever, it's all good. But anything up against it, you end up with a gap. It's not a fully connected thing. Now, what I'm going to use in that situation is called first surface mirror. So we'll take this one away, and I only have small pieces of this left, and they're a little bit broken up, but they're big enough for what I need. So this first surface mirror looks like this. Okay, it's a very small piece. Now this, granted, is a lot more expensive than the home store mirror. An 11 by 13, I believe, is the dimensions of this mirror. Will run, I think the last sheet I bought was around $30, and I had to buy it online. Not everybody has this. I couldn't go down. I went to the glass stores around here and the mirror stores, and they had no idea what I was talking about when I asked for first surface mirror. So I had to end up going online, and this is actually the mirror they use in kaleidoscopes. It's for kaleidoscopes, and yeah, see, it broke on me at some point, but it's still usable. Now this reflective side is, believe it or not, the back side. This is the glass you're looking at, and the reflective surface is on the back. Now that makes it, you're thinking a regular mirror. And if I hold Let's see if I can get this in here. If I hold the track up to it, I have the same problem, except the gap is smaller because this mirror is only a 1/16 of an inch thick. So there's still a gap, but it's much smaller. It's half the size of the other, which on its own is better than the other. But I did say this was front surface mirror. So this is the back side, and it has a protective coating on it. Now on this piece, I'm gonna take this off. But if you're going to use this on your layouts, you don't want to take this off until after the mirror is installed, because cleaning this stuff is bad. It's very bad. It scratches really easy if you smudge it and smear it. So here's that same mirror right here, and that's the good side right there. So if I push this up to it, bam, look at no gap whatsoever. There's nothing. It looks like a rail joint in there, and it's absolutely perfect. So this is what I'm going to use, this front surface mirror, and I have some pieces left over, so I don't have to buy any. You know, and this is the stuff you really want to be using if you're putting track up to it to expand your layout and add some depth. This is the way you want to go. The other mirror is fine if you're not adding things to it. You know, things going straight into the mirror. And I will also say some other things that I learned with the mirror is you can bring things in at an angle, and if you bring them in at an angle, they will curve in the reflection. So like the road that I put on the layout comes in at a small angle like this, and then I just filled in that little wedge shape. So now the road comes in and it curves around and it goes back behind my scenery, which is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome on its own. But it's much more effective if you go straight on with it. The other thing you can do with these is you can add buildings to them. Okay, so to add a building is really very easy. So I have this building right here, okay, and I want to make it, supposing I want to make it look longer than it is over here. So you take one of these and you push it right up to the back of it. All you have to do, see the roof overhangs, but if you take away that overhang, if you look at the roof, there's no gap in there whatsoever. Now this building is twice as long as it was. And you can do that, and it runs right down the building. So if I were to file off, let's say I had scenery that came over here and I wanted to make this look like a much bigger building, I would just file down the roof line and continue this roofing material right up to the edge, and then this would be totally against the mirror, and there would be no gap. So if I took this up, let's say like this, and then you can see there's really no gap in there. You know, it has to be perfectly flat to it in order for that to work. But yeah, that's how you want to go. If you took the regular mirror, let's see, I have a small piece of that. Here's the regular mirror, and as you can see, it leaves a giant gap at the edge of the roof between one image to the next. See, you couldn't possibly join these together and make it look like they belong together, like it's one continuous unit. But with the front surface mirrors, you can definitely do that. So, you know, those are the differences. Now, in order to use if you wanted to use this building again with your front surface mirror and you just want to expand your scenery, then you would just throw this off to the side, maybe like that, and then it would show, let's say, another building in the background. Or if you threw this back even further like this, and then you painted, let's say you ran it like this, okay? You could paint a road through here and it would look like another building behind this building. Okay, so those are the things. I just wanted to show you quick the differences between the two mirrors and why I'm using which one where. So front surface for right now is going to go against up on my wall where the tracks are going to meet it and the road's going to meet. We're going to use the front surface mirror, and I'm just going to take a piece. This is another piece that I have. I just need to cut this to shape. It has it cracked off right here, so I'm just going to cut this straight down and mount that into the area where it needs to go. The only difference being is I'm gonna these little nubs that show up, I don't know if you can see these, right here and right here, these are from the manufacturing process. I found out where the machine holds onto the glass when they coat it. So you can't really do anything about those. I'm just going to put these down at the bottom and I'm going to bury them in scenery so you don't see them. And the other thing is I'm going to leave this blue coating on here until all my work is done. When there's nothing left but adding in shrubbery and trees and things like that, this blue protective coat will stay on there, because this other stuff is very difficult, like I said, to clean. Where's the one that I just had? It's very easy to scratch, and once you fingerprint it, good luck getting it without putting scratches in it. And as soon as you scratch it, the effect is done. And it's very difficult at a glance to tell which side is which unless you put something up to it. Now this piece that I peeled the coating off, this piece here is wasted. I'm not going to be able to do anything with it because it has fingerprints on it. So that'll end up just in the junk, in the garbage or something. But I sacrificed it just to give you an idea of what the mirrors are, and you know. So with all that being said, why don't we go into the other room and we'll start mounting the one front surface mirror in place and start get that track put in. Okay, so I've cut that piece that I showed you. I cut off the big end of with the shard on it, and this is what I end up with. I cut it at an angle because I want more of the mirror over here behind the trees, and the blue side faces out, and then this is what I'm going to end up with. I'm going to push this down in here. I've cut back the joint compound a little bit so that this mirror will slip down behind. Now I'm also noticing that I need to cut a little bit of the ground scenery here so that this will sit all the way flat. So I'm just going to take my knife and just notch away a little bit of this so that it goes totally flat up against the wall and down to the base of the plywood that I have underneath all of this. And you cut all of this out. Now this should just sit right down in there nicely. Yeah, that's pretty good. Like that. And then all I'm going to do is put a little caulk in the back. So I brought it a little further on this side, past the track, and then a little bit on the other side, so that we get a little bit of the ground scenery going through here, and you know, the full road is in there. And then once this dries in place, then I can come back with joint compound and I'm going to refill in directly up against the mirror so that I have a full section of road up to the mirror. Now the other thing I'm noticing is my cork is a little chipped out here, so I'm going to let this come out a little bit on the bottom like that. So I'm going to put a little bit of caulk on here, and then I'm going to put a weight up against it to push it against the wall until it dries. Now you don't need a lot. I generally just put a couple dabs, you know, a bit in from the corners, and then maybe 1 or 2 in the center, depending on how big it is. You don't need to go crazy with it. So this is all I'm going to put on it, like that. And we're going to flip this around. And I'm just going to set this into place. And I can either slide it back and forth so that it goes down in where I want it, like that. And then just push it to the wall. And then I'm just going to take this weight and very carefully push back against it just to hold it in place until all the caulk in the backside sets up. And then we'll come back. When I come back, I may want to cut back some of this cork here and reload, reset a new piece up to the mirror, because I noticed I got a little chipping at the end where the thing meets the mirror, and I really don't want to have that. So I may reset that, and then, like I said, I got to go back and we'll fix the road, and then we'll set this track in, and then that's done, and we'll leave the protective coating on until all of this heavy scenery work is done, so there's no chance of getting anything on the mirror that I've got to clean off. And I know from experience you're not going to clean those off. You need to keep those covered until the last possible minute, and then you peel off the cover and you're good to go. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on mirrors. If that helps somebody, I hope so. So that's going to be it for this week's video, I think. And next week I'll go back, I'll give you a look-see of how that looks. Obviously the blue cover is going to be on there for a while, so, but I'll give you a look at how that looks, and you can see the progress of how that goes. So that's going to be it this time. Hopefully this helped. Thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for finding me on YouTube. Visit my website, mikestrains.wordpress.com. Sign up for email updates, please. Always like to know people are looking at my stuff and enjoying what I do, and it's actually helping people. It gives me the momentum to keep going. So, thank you to everybody who's watching, and hopefully more people will come. And that's all I got to say. So until next time, happy modeling.